Okay. Hi everyone. Just a second. I think I'm not visible on screen yet. Am I? Or am I not? I think that is an overlay. Yeah. Hello. Hi everyone. How's it going? Okay, let's see the comments. Second, I guess. Hi, hello. Hi Shraddha. Hi Shimri. How's it going? Hello Prasoon. Good so far. How's Global Hack Week career going for you all? I don't think we've had any interaction yet. Mostly I do the Today in Global Hack Week ceremonies, and that's why I know how's it going for other folks, but this time I don't think I've done any of those streams yet. How is the celebration? The celebration's going great. I also have Hina on my hands. It's Mehendi or Hina, as you can like recognize it. It's pretty good. I was actually out at a party and I just rushed back home because I had to take the stream. Beautiful. Thank you. Done 3 challenges in Lepos. That's amazing. Um, to be honest, Career Week is like, I think, the best opportunity for you all because you get to experience so many things. You get to learn so many things from folks who have achieved or reached to some point where you probably see yourself to be. And it's really great that this particular week is going on because so many folks had actually asked me about DSA and interview prep. So I'm able to take these sessions this time. Um, Hi, Tintin. We are good. How are you? I will be talking about the session plan soon. I thought we'll first have more introductions, be a little chill for 5-10 minutes, because after that, we're going to talk about a lot of interview preparation. So, yeah, the whole session is focused on interview preparation. That's a gist, but we'll go ahead more deep into it in some time. So, okay, what has been your favorite stream so far, or what are you looking forward to in the further days of Global Hack Week? Hello, hi, it's Deekshita, but that's okay. Um, if I'm not wrong, we're already in day 3, right? Or day 4? 2, 3. Oh, we're in day 4. Wow, it's gone too fast, I guess. All of them have been exceptional. That's amazing. Yes, it's day 4. Uh, I am so caught up in festivities, office, as well as I'm streaming, so it's been quite a hectic week for me. Yeah, I guess. And I have to head back home really soon, which is kind of sad because I'm used to living with my parents again. But uh, festivities are ending and I have to go get back to office. I'm excited to make a cool personal portfolio. That's amazing. Do share it with me. I'm excited to see it now. So what I'll do is, meanwhile, I'll just set up certain things that we're going to discuss today. Okay, how many of you were a part of the previous stream? I see a lot of familiar names, but just in case you want, I'll give a very small recap. Sorry, of what we talked about in the last stream and what are we going forward with today. Also, I am really sorry I have not given my introduction yet. Hi everyone, I am Deekshita Verma. I am a coach with Major League Hacking, as well as I'm a software engineer at Google. I am also a makeup artist. I'm currently back home in Delhi, living with my parents to have like first Diwali, of course. We have another festival tomorrow, which is Bhai Dooj, and after that I'll have to head back home, back to office. Currently I'm like working from home, so yeah. um, where can I connect though? LinkedIn, Twitter, I think those are the two platforms I'm very active at. I am not very active at Discord. It's just the MLS Discord which I see. Otherwise I don't open Discord that often. um, I will definitely look over to it. I'm watching the previous streams that I haven't attended. It's okay. That's why we like try to keep those streams alive for some time. They'll always be there on YouTube, and if you want to talk about Twitch, I think they stay for 30 days, so you can always catch up because I know everyone has a lot of things going on. Specifically, I think in India right now it's the major festival weekend, so we understand that you may not be able to attend all the streams on time. So that's okay. You can always head back to them and go and check it out. Um, I'll see you on LinkedIn. Definitely. Just in case you're sending a message request, I think I mentioned it in my last stream also. Add a note to it so that I know that you are here from the stream and I accept the request, because sometimes I get spammed a lot. So I tend to forget accepting LinkedIn requests, and then it's kind of weird. Okay, what I'll do is I will do a very small recap of last week's stream. I had shared this slide deck already in the last stream. So this was about interview preparation 101. We merely talked about like 5 or 6 topics, but we talked way too much in detail about them. First of all, what all do I need to prepare? We had like these are the topics that you have to. Um, Sure, I am summarizing it. So, what all do you need to prepare? There's data structures and algorithms, OOPS, OS, DBMS, software engineering. Now, this is specifically for software engineering roles. For other tech roles, you can, like, if it's something like data science role, or if it's an Android developer, and if the company is directly focused on how much do you know about it, then it's going to be very, very specific to that tech stack. But if we talk about software engineering in general, these topics are always asked. uh, how do you apply for jobs? There's an application procedure which is directly on their careers website. Second way could be referrals. Reach out to a person who you already know in the company, not sending requests to random people on LinkedIn to refer you for a job. It does not work, and it's not actually recommended by the other company. And it just is kind of weird to ask someone randomly that he can you share a referral. Know the person, make a connection with them, and then ask them. That's a different thing. And the third way could be cold emailing. If you find something, if there's particularly if someone's code is open source, and if you find something over there that this is wrong and you can correct it in some way, like find a template, write a cold email that hey, this is your product and I figured this out and we can work it this way. I was looking for an opening. You can formulate an email and just send it out. That could work too. Now, how do I make sure I get an interview? You need to have a good resume. There's an online coding challenge. So, mostly in an online coding challenge, you are asked up to lead code medium and very beginning questions of lead code hard. That's the level in most interview prep, like in interview coding rounds that I've seen. Uh, this is for entry level. I don't know more in detail about after you have an experience in the industry, because even I am a fresher in the industry right now. So this is what I had experienced so far. The type of questions and level of complexity is lead code medium somewhere. Now, things I need to keep in mind during an interview: you're not expected to know everything. The interviewer will always be there to help you out and figure things out. In case you're stuck, try to communicate well to them and they'll help you out. And we'll see this in today's stream, because today I'm going to give an idea of how interviews work, how mock interview works, right? So sorry, I just switched to Hindi in a second. So in mock interviews, basically how the interviewer interacts with you and how you interact, that's gonna happen. Like that's something which I'll give more idea about in detail today. And you may have to code without an ID. This also I'll show today on how that happens and how you can work it out. Some do's and don'ts: focus on your preparation and know your basics well. We tend to get so much involved in learning DP graphs, hash maps, and all of that stuff that we forget how important our basics are, and sometimes those are the questions we get stuck at. And don't do not compare yourself to someone else's progress. Everyone has a different ladder, and in case like if you basically tend to compare and see is this working, is this not working, it may not be that great in the end, and it may distract you from your own path. And do not lie on your resume in case someone asks some question which you're not aware of. It's going to be very awkward between you and the interviewer, so we don't want that, right? And later on it was a Q&A. So this was a very very tiny gist of what we discussed. It was a 2 hour long stream, so there were a lot of questions and a lot of things that we talked about. But basically, this is what was mentioned. A few people during Hacktoberfest said they hired people who started consistently and hopefully started contributing to their code bases. Does that happen a lot? Yes, it does. So, in case if a company is looking for certain openings, they'll first try to find, like mostly companies which have their code available open source, they'll try to find people who are constantly contributing and their peers are getting merged. That means that these are people already know our code base. We don't have to train them, we don't have to explain too much in detail. And if this is exactly the product we are talking about and this is the one we need to hire in, they'll definitely take the person who has been contributing or reach out to them, because they're already familiar with the code and they already know how to add a betterment to your code. So why would they go ahead and like do the entire hiring process of find a different person whom they have to train, make them understand the code base? That's a whole long procedure. So whenever a fresher joins a company, they have to train them, give them a ramp up, and then they'll try to understand things, and a mentor is assigned for 4 5 months. If someone already knows the code base, that's like an easy hire for them. So they would definitely prefer to hire a person like that. I think there is one senior I know. She's from India. Her name is Soumya Singh. As far as I know, she used to contribute in the Red Hat's code base during Hacktoberfest, as far as I remember her telling me. And she now works at Red Hat as a software engineer. So hi Krish, how's it going? Okay, so we talked about the basics of interview prep. Now, I think there were 2 3 things pointed out in the last stream which I said that we will talk more in detail about today. First one is time and space complexity on questions. Second is how to code without an IDE. And third one would be how does an interview process go, or why did I say that interviewers are there to help you? And we'll give like a small mock interview example and more about what questions were asked to me in my interview. So something like that would be more helpful. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I will start a new doc. Now talking about coding without an ID, I think I gave a very small example in the last stream. But basically, coding without an ID means that, specifically, if we talk about Google interviews, you are given this Google Doc and this is where you have to code. I think the brightness on my face is a little too much, but sorry about that. I am at a very different setup today and I just don't know how to crank it up better. It is what it is. Currently, my camera and my entire setup was set according to the lighting I had in Bangalore, and the Delhi lighting is quite different and quite brighter, and I'm not able to set it up well. I don't have that much of time, so we're gonna work with it, and we're gonna see a major bright flash on my face today. Um, you're back in Delhi? Yes, I am. I'm actually going back to Bangalore on Saturday. I was here for 3 weeks. Uh, I had my birthday, Diwali, convocation, and Bhai Dooj, all of those things. So I was like, I decided to come here for 3 weeks at least. Cool. So talking about time and space complexity. Now, I'll give a very small example. This is the most basic example that exists. How you join MLH from India? That's great. A lot of folks from India are a part of MLH. I am not sure why you're shocked by this idea. I think few of us stream very regularly. Few of us might stream at a time when you're not that active, but we have a lot of Indian coaches. So yeah, okay. So if there's any function, and let's just say there's a variable count and I'm doing count plus plus here. So int count equals 0. So right now the space complexity is O of 1. I think we used to write it this way. Sorry, I am also a little bit rusty in DSA right now. I mean, not that rusty, but a bit of it I might forget a little bit of notations or something. And the time complexity, I know that if n is like a 10 digit number or 12 digit number, it's almost similar to O of 1. But just to be sure, we write it as O of n. Now, this is the big O notation. Why big O notation is that important, or what exactly I'm talking about? I think there is a little bit of a network lag. Um, my video is lagging for sure. I can see that on the screen. I'm not sure how much my audio is lagging. So, in case there's any issue, just let me know in the chat. So, why is the big O notation that important? What's the deal about time complexity, space complexity? How much do I need to know? So, I'll give an example of my final interview round at Google. What happened was that I was asked a question that you have an array of 10 digits, it's unsorted. Now, what you have to do is find the position of number, let's say 4, as if this array was sorted without actually sorting it, and with the least amount of time complexity as well as the space complexity. So, what I'm going to do is, okay, there is an array, 10 digit. It's unsorted right now. What we have to do is find the position of number 4 as if it was sorted, without actually sorting it. So the first thing that will come to my mind is actually to sort the array. How would I find the position of 4 when it was sorted if I do not do that? But they want it in the least amount of time and space complexity. I like to be crazy with space and time, so I built a TypeScript /handle CLI app whose entire goal is to print the list of projects I've done in Markdown in a README so that I can showcase. Damn, that's cool. Okay, so now if I do not know about the big O notation and if I'm not entirely aware of things, how would I even solve? This question could have been given in a very different way. If I say, if I remove without actually sorting it, then the first approach that anybody would have is to sort the array, right? Now there are bunch of sort techniques that we have: bubble sort, insertion sort, quick sort, merge sort. There might be many more of these. I'm mentioning these four. So I will give an example of how I would convey it to the interviewer and how I would talk. Okay, so if there is an array of 10 digits, the first thing I would say is if I would need to find the number of position of the number 4, as if it was sorted, the first technique that would come in my mind is to sort the array. Now, there are a lot of techniques, but the techniques which are on top of my head are bubble sort, insertion sort, quick sort, and merge sort. So, if I talk about it, I think the fastest techniques are quick and merge sort, which has the complexity O of n log n. If now I am coming out of the interviewee zone and I'm going to mention it to you as if I'm actually explaining the concept. Now, if I wasn't aware of um, this sorting techniques, this algorithm, or the big O notation, I wouldn't even know that quicksort and merge sort are faster than bubble sort and insertion sort. These two are more complex form of sorting, and they take space as well as time. I think there they have O of n square, and then there's a worst case scenario which even goes up to a higher level of time complexity. But basically, going back to the mock interview type, so bubble sort and insertion sort are something which are much more complex. So these two, I don't think we'll be going ahead. I'll be going ahead with. But if we talk about quicksort and merge sort, they have equal amount of time complexity as well as space complexity. So we can go with both the techniques. Um, Now this is the first approach that comes to my head. But in case we want a more faster approach, or in case we want something which is less complex, what I would actually do is try to do a linear search and count all the variables or count all the numbers which are less than 4. In this way, I would actually know the exact position of 4. So let me explain it this way. Let's say the array has these many elements. 10 elements. I'll just write a set. How many are these? 5. We need to have 4, of course. And let's say that 57. Okay. So this is the 10 digit array that I have. Now, in case I need to find 4, what I need to do is I need to know how many numbers are actually less than 4. For that, one way could be to sort it, but the other way is I'll just do a linear search, and any number which is less than 4, I'll just add 1 to it. So if I have, let's say, count equals 0, if I go to 21, it's going to be 0. If you go to 2, which is less than 4, count becomes 1. 56, there's no need to add. 34, there's no need to add. 67, there's no need to add. 4, there's no need to add. 89, there's no need to add. Similarly, when we come to the end of the array, we have count equal to 1, which is actually the position of 4 when the array will be sorted. So this approach will actually take O of n. And that's how we'll be able to solve it in a much faster way. So why did I explain this entire approach to you, or why did I take it in this way, is because we need to break down from a tougher, or let's say a more complex approach to something more simplified. Even if you know the most simplest answer already, I would recommend talk about the other cases where this will be more complex, and how do you go forward to finding a more optimized solution. So there is no mo- I don't think there's any faster way to optimize this rather than this particular solution in itself. So I started with how to sort the array. Then there are 4 sorting techniques, out of which 2 of them are actually the fastest. And even if we do not want to sort it, then there's another technique where you just go with a linear search and you're able to solve it much more faster. So explaining this to an interviewer actually interprets that, hey, this person has knowledge, they know their tech, they know how to solve things out, and they know how to approach it. So by this time, currently I'm just explaining the approach, and I did a dry run of explaining how O of n comes out. Now at this point, an interviewer would say, okay, you are at a good pace, or you're at a good approach, let's start coding it. So this is the time where you actually start working on the code. So I will say that let's write a function which will return the position of the number 4. So I'll go with um, int position of 4. This is, let's say this is the function, and we are going to receive an array in star. So I'm writing in C++. Uh, and currently I'm coding on an without an IDE. So writing here, this means coding without IDE, where you actually need to write the entire code in a Google document. So this is the function. What we're going to do is, or to make it easier, I'll just remove the pointers for now and write it in a more simpler format, a of 10. So what I'm going to do is, here I will declare a variable int p equals 0. Now, this was one thing which even I was kind of very, very aware of while I was coding, that whenever I try to write something, Google Doc has this habit of turning the first alphabet always to capital. And I was correcting it at every step of my interview, but at some point the interviewer said, it's okay, just stop doing that and start with uh, writing the code. Do not focus on the caps or anything. Syntax is fine for now. So because the interviewer pointed it out, that's why I stopped modifying the syntax. Either just mention it that hey, it's constantly going to capital, so we're just going to ignore the fact I'm writing the syntax right, or otherwise, if the interviewer does not point it out and you've not mentioned it to them, just simply keep correcting the syntax. Because if they directly copy paste this to work without any syntactical errors. So what I'm going to do is int p equals to 0, and we'll start a for loop for int I equals 0, I is less than 10, and I plus plus. Now, while I'm writing, I'm also explaining things and I'm also constantly talking about them. This is what the interviewer needs. They need to understand your point of view, they need to understand your perspective about a question. So, constantly keep talking. Probably when you practice, just keep talking to yourself, or just make sure that you are this aware that there's no drop of silence while you are writing the code, or while you are thinking of something during an interview. Whatever's coming to your head, good thought, bad thought, just thoughts about coding, not something else. Good thought, bad thought, or what this is, I'm confused, or maybe this should be the approach, or not really, I think this should go ahead with it. I do remember trying to do something like that. All of this, keep telling the interviewer that this is going on in my head, because they want to know your thinking, they want to know your approach to solving the question, they want to understand what your point of view or what your perspective is about something. So we have the code. Now all I have to do is, if okay, I almost messed up the syntax, if p is less than 4, uh sorry, not p, if a of I is less than 4, we'll do a p plus plus, right? And here we'll return p. Again, this went to caps, so I'll just change it. And this should return the value in a complexity of O of m. Can you please justify the use of C++ programming language in this session? Okay, yeah. So basically, C++ is the language I wrote. Yeah, I think Krish answered it. You're just writing a sort algorithm. C++ is the language I wrote it in. You can write it in any language. Now, this is the language I used to use while I did DSA. So it's just something which is very, very handy to me whenever I solve a data structures question. C++ is the only go-to language that is programmed in my head. You can use any language. I would recommend Java and C++ are the two main languages which should be preferred to solve in an interview, because most interviewers are well aware of these two languages, and in general data structures is like quite I would say a good approach to solve in these two. If you go for Python, I think there are a lot of libraries which already solve half of the problems for you and make it faster, which kind of makes DSA easy. And DSA should not be easy. It should be complex. It should be fun. It should be a little bit of a headache, but also fun to solve. That's what I personally believe. Both are good to go. I did in C++, but in my job, I always work on Java. So it's language independent. Basically, you just need to know DSA. Yes, exactly. Thanks for answering that, Krish. Uh, Not something else. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did say, and I just don't want you all to interpret something wrong that I said. Okay, whatever's coming in your head, just tell it to them. Do not say that मुझे तो ये आता ही नहीं है and something like that. Just be formal but also technical. Um, Okay, hi Tintin. This session refers to technical interview preparation part two. This is more about talk. This is talking about basically mock interviews of if a particular question is asked in an interview, how do you solve it? Specifically mentioning it on an IDE. So this is what I'm talking about. It's not a C++ project. It's just a DSA question, which will be asked in any of the technical interviews that you ever appear to. Let me see if we missed out on any of the questions. Okay, you've shared my LinkedIn ID. Thank you. Mm, okay, there's a question about how to become an MLH coach. I think that's something which we'll answer later on. Currently, it's more about tech interviews, write code in binary so you never have to deal with capitalization problem. I don't think that's possible. Yes, no project is being built. This is just this part of the stream was more about mock interviews. Part one was about how to actually prepare. Don't they ask advanced TSA? This question was asked in my interview, which was my final round for Google. So, a lot of advanced, okay, if you talk about the advanced data structures and algorithms where there's a whole sort of set of questions which is something you study in your seventh or eighth semester, uh, that's not asked in an interview because nobody expects you to solve those questions in half an hour. These sort of questions are something where you can explain your basics as well as solve them in a certain time, but also like here they talked about space and time complexity, and right now I explained that okay, these are the sorting algorithms, but apart from that I could do it in a linear search way. But the question that was asked to me in my interview was find the position of number 4 without sorting the ad. At that moment, it actually blocks a lot of people's approach because they're like, how do I find the position of a number sorted if I cannot sort the array? Right now, manually, I can simply check and tell you the number, the position. But how do I do that while coding? And that's somewhere anybody would get stuck because this is like right now here. I explained the old approaches and then I was breaking down to an easier approach directly. This approach is kind of hard to figure out yourself, right? So these sort of questions are asked. That's why I mentioned in my last stream that know your basics well, because they do not target graphs, DP, or hash maps in your interview. These questions are asked when you give that online challenge. But in your interview, what's going to happen is they're going to track or try to uh, understand your basics and how much knowledge you actually have. If I block all other options, how do you just find the value? How do you get it without sorting? I actually just explained the approach. What we are doing is um, okay, hello, hi, are we back? Can you hear me? Am I unstuck now? Okay, great. Was it yeah for stuck or unstuck? Cool, unstuck. Thanks. Yeah. So basically, we just sorted the question. All you had to do was find all the numbers which are less than 4 in the array, and the count, that particular count of the numbers is the position of 4 if the array was sorted. That is how you solve it without sorting it. So these sort of questions where you're directly asked for something which is super basic, which is something which will come to your mind if you do not know sorting algorithms. But now that you've learned so many algorithms in so many different ways, so many uh, difficult formats, that you'll forget the most basic thing, and that's the question which will be targeted on you. So that's why I always mention love, understand, know your basics well, because that is where your concepts lie. It's not about the algorithms that you've learned. Obviously, they are important, they are going to be used, they will be mentioned in a lot of things. But knowing your basics is very, very important. Understanding the concept is important. It's not about just justifying or learning the algorithms and declaring that, hey, I know DSA and I know these algorithms. What's actually the concept behind them is important. Can you explain the recursive concept in C++ programming language? Of course. So basically, it's all reaction time with precision. Exactly. Um, what do you want to know about recursive? I think the most basic recursive question is factors. Uh, was it factorization or was it something even more simpler than that? What was the first question that we learned in recursion? I think I just can't get the pattern in my head. What was the name of that particular pattern that you learn first when you do recursions? Factorial, yes. Uh, Factorization and Fibonacci. Fibonacci series was the one I was thinking about. Um, so I think recursive concept can be very, very simple, but at the same time very, very difficult. Do you have any reference resources or links that you would like to recommend to enhance C++ programming language? I would say just practice, and any concept that you need to know, you can find all of the resources on YouTube. That's where I studied most of it. And there was one book in my 12th grade, I guess, which was my go to understand all the basic concepts. I had a great computer teacher in school, I would say, who was very, very specific. If I ask specifically about Google, which language is mostly used in majority of projects that are present? There are multiple languages, but I think the most go-to languages are Java, Kotlin, Go, C++. Um, I think these four I've heard a lot, but every language is used somewhere or the other. There's no particular language which is in majority of the projects. What I would recommend is try to know the basics of just one language, understand everything in one language. Then changing syntaxes is quite easy. You can understand anything and build in them. There's no specification on, hey, you don't know this language. I'm a Android developer with Google right now, and I learned Java and Kotlin when I joined Google. So I'm still actually learning while I'm building, because half of the concepts I sometimes don't understand. But okay, what I'll do is for Fibonacci series, I'll actually just open a Fibonacci series question, uh, and just try to explain the approach directly from there using recursion. Yeah, my very, very go to website. I think I mentioned about this website in the last stream. Okay, so here you have to show the Fibonacci series, and this is where you're returning. So if you know what Fibonacci series is, first 0, 1, 1 are like common, and then every number is the sum of the previous two numbers. So generally, recursion questions can be solved in two ways. It could either be iteration or recursion. Now, iteration is has less time complexity, but recursion is quite easy. Can you suggest a good resource for Node? Uh, what do you mean by Node? Which node are you talking about? Are you talking about list nodes or something? Uh, Node.js. Node.js, I haven't done that like, in quite deep understanding. If there's someone who has actually worked on Node.js and know like a very good resource available, please suggest that in the chat. Otherwise, I'll find something and share. YouTube channel link, I there's no specific YouTube channel that I could recommend. The one I used to listen in I actually makes videos in Hindi, so I don't think that's quite a great resource. But yes, Free Code Camp, a lot of my friends actually studied from there, so that's quite helpful. Uh, so there are two ways to solve any sort of question which has recursion. It could either be iteration, it could either be recursion. So recursion simply means probably adding or subtracting. There will be a formula. First step is to find the base values. That's three. um, Share the book title. Yes, so there was this Sumita Arora C++. Yes, that was the book. It was, there are I think three parts of this book. One was used in 11th grade and two of them were used in 12th grade. These were the ones I used to study from and where I learned most of my basics from. Uh, this has, I think, up to content up to trees. After that there comes the more complex data structures. So for recursion, I am trying to recall how my teacher taught me. There are three major steps that you need to know, and that actually helps you to solve any recursion question. The step one is to know the base value, or I would explain what that is in more detail. Second is to know the formula, and third one is to call the function itself. So if we talk about Fibonacci series, our base values are 0 and 1. Okay, and for formula is sum of previous two numbers. So if I have, let's say, Fibonacci of n is equal to Fibonacci of n minus 1 plus Fibonacci of n minus 2. Now third step is to call the function again, which we are calling via this formula, right? So the code for this would be int Fibonacci of int n if n is double equal to 0 or n is double equal to 1. We want to return the value 1. That's our base value. So we've returned 1 over here. Otherwise, what our formula is Fibonacci of n, which should be, let's say, our answer. It should be Fibonacci of n minus 1 plus Fibonacci of n minus 2, and then we return our answer. So we've done all three steps, and that's how recursion works. So basically, you have to break down your question into the base value as well as the formula and what you need to return. That's how recursion works in any form. If you know this breakdown, if you approach a question this way, it will never be hard for you to understand recursion. Okay, so we kind of like went a little offside from interview preparation in general by talking about a very specific concept. So we'll get back to more interview prep stuff. Uh, Let's see if I missed out on any question before that. What are the differences between C and C++ programming language? They're quite similar. C++ has pointers which are not in C as far as I remember. That I think there's a whole history about C and C++ difference, and the book that I've recommended actually mentions something about it over there. So I think this is not something which is quite relevant to the stream. So we will go forward with rest of the uh, stream and session. I'm going to name this as interview preparation part 2, and I will share uh, this doc by the end of the stream. Okay, so you already know, now that we've discussed it, you know the importance of knowing the complexities and the importance of big notation. I also gave a run through of how to solve a particular question and how basically you interact with the interviewer. So, another thing, while I'm explaining, there are times when I just sit back like this and I try to talk and explain things. Now, this is my tendency to explain, and I kind of like to rest and talk. But this is something which I've built after I've joined office, and I've gotten used to rocking chair and explaining things out. But never ever have this body language while you're in an interview. Make sure that if you have long hair, they're tucked behind. You're not distracted by anything else. There's not something you're playing with in your hands, and just kind of sit straight, have a good body language, and then try to explain things out. Always have a smile on your face. Explain whatever's going on in your head, technically important, related to code, related to interview, and just try to communicate well with the interviewer. This is going to be a 40-minute interaction where you have to set an example or set an impression of who you are, why do you deserve to be a part of the company, and all those things. So we need to make a good impression in those 40 minutes, also solve a question, and there should not be any pressure. So, um, let's say a question is asked where you don't know uh, how to basically solve this question, or what the approach is, or basically you do not understand what that question means. So let's say there's any random question right now on your screen in this Google Doc, and you're not quite aware of how to solve it. How do you answer that situation, or how do you deal with it? So, okay, I am the interviewee, and I saw a random question, and this is how I would actually talk about it and how I would answer it. Do you know any other form of conveying this question, or is there any other explanation that exists, or probably a small hint? Because right now I'm not able to quite understand what to do exactly or what the approach should be, and I'm a little confused about it. If you could give a nudge, or if you could help a little bit, that would be great. So, this could be my first question. And later on, if they explain something, um, and I understand the question, but I still don't know how to solve it. So I do understand what the question means. I can solve it manually, but I'm not sure how to find an approach for it. I'm quite confused. So I will give an example of a question which was actually asked in my interview, and I was quite clueless about how to code it. So the question was that there are a bunch of directories, and you basically have to store them in a particular data structure. So by directories, I mean directories in your desktop. So let's say you have a Windows desktop. So in your PC, what all things are mentioned? So there's documents slash files slash photo 1.jpg Then there is another directory which has a let's say a to-do list, a doc for it, to-do.doc. To-do docs do not have end with doc to-do.word. Um, then there is downloads. Then there is this PC. Then I have desktop, some photos over there. So you get the point. These are certain directories. Now you have to store it all in one data structure. Okay. I understand the question that I have a set of directories and I'll have to store it in an optimized data structure. Now, it should be easy to peruse, it should be easy to find things in, and it should be very, very optimized with less complexity. Now, the first thing that comes to my head is to either store them in the form of strings, but it's hard to find. Like, if you say that I have to find all things available inside documents, I'll have to search everywhere and find documents and link them in, and then inside that I'll have to find all the directories and I'll have to cut them, store them somewhere, and then return it. It's very, very complex, right? Um, how do I basically solve this out? So there could be one thing that comes to my head. I do know this concept. So I did actually know this concept, but I just knew it by the definition. I never coded it. I never saw it. So I just mentioned that I think there is one concept called tries, which is something like this, but I just probably read it somewhere and I don't know how to solve it. I don't know how to approach it, and I'm very, very confused at this moment. So when I did mention that to my interviewer, he told me about tries. He told me that yeah, tries basically, the example that I read is how to store different words in a simple way, kind of a library. So let's say uh, find words which have a lot of common alphabets, and it could be in the form of tree where you have something starting with B, right? And this one could have, this is for, let's say O R I. Okay, let's say we are right now at these three letters. I can't think of a lot of words from B right now. So here, this could lead to books. So we could have something like O and then K and then S. Later on, this could be here. We could have bright, so O R, and then under R I have IGST, something like trees. Like, do you understand what I'm trying to deliver here? I think this was quite confusing the way I was trying to explain it. But somewhere, like a branched structure where you constantly keep having alphabets, and if you move across this, if you move across this, there are words forming out. Right? That's a concept which is called tries. So I had read about this stuff, but I wasn't quite aware of how to solve it, how to basically lay things out, and I was very, very confused at this point. Just one second. Okay, yeah, sorry. So this is exactly like, this is a data structure which existed, which I knew about, but I wasn't sure. So my interviewer actually laid this out that the concept to tries that you're saying is something like this. So like, yeah, what we can do is we have, at that point I thought that we can have multiple trees, like something where which stores all everything for documents. Then there's one tree which stores for downloads, then there's one tree which stores for this PC, something like that. And then the interviewer said, but you'll have to maintain several trees. Why don't you have like one parent object for it and all of those directories? So like, yeah, this could be like, let's say our parent object is Windows, and Windows has children documents, downloads, this PC and desktop. Now, these could be individual trees in itself. So, documents will have all its children, downloads will have all its children, this PC will have all its children, desktop will have all its children. So, this is very easy for me to sort out, this is very easy for me to understand. So, right now, I am communicating with my interviewer where I am explaining things that this is what I understand, and the interviewer was also constantly interjecting and helping me out on how to solve this question. And by the end of this, I was like, yeah, this is a generic tree. So at that point, my interviewer was like, okay, explain what generic trees are. So generic trees are basically similar to trees, but there's no limit on the number of children. Every node could have different amount of children, and that's how generic trees work. So we landed up to this is a great approach, and then we started coding it. Now coding this one is quite complex, but I think you understood the point. I think you understood how I communicated with my interviewer, how I told them that I don't understand this, how they helped you out, and how in the end you were able to solve a particular question. So once we landed on the approach, and once we were able to figure things out, once I explained him all the definitions I remembered, we started coding it, and I made quite a lot of syntactical errors, but we kept tracing it back and fixing it. So it was like two peers talking and solving questions together, which is something that happens in an interview. An interviewer is not supposed to be someone who's not probably looking at your question or understanding things. They will help you out, they will solve together, and it almost felt like two friends sitting together and discussing a question and finding the solution to it. And it was that natural and comfortable that by the end of it, I was very, very comfortable with the interviewer, and we ended up talking for the last 5-10 minutes that we had. So that's how interview processes go. And these were the two mock interview things that I had in my mind, and I think I explained um, quite a lot of things. So I know there will be a lot of questions in your head. Keep asking them in the chat, and we'll probably take, if there are certain things that you need me to explain, we have an hour, so I can keep explaining, or I'll find something else to talk about. Right now, it's 1 hour into the stream. What I'll do is we'll take like a I think a 10-minute break, because we have quite a lot of time. We'll take a 10-minute break. I'll go grab some water, relax for 5-10 minutes. And meanwhile, if you have anything specific you need to discuss, or if I have anything specific I need to discuss, we'll come back and start answering and solving those things, and then end the interview preparation series. So feel free to ask any question that you have. I will take a 10-minute break and I will be back soon. Let me add a timer. Back in 10 minutes. That will be 8:40 p.m. IST. Cool. I will remove this. I will just put this as the heading and hide myself from the stream, and I will be back soon. Alright, let me just turn the music on. Okay, hi, I am back. Camera on, let me add myself to the screen. Hi, are you all back as well? Let me know with a hi in the chat. How many of you are still here? How many of you are actually listening? So, um, let me wait for folks to send a hi in the chat that they're here. Yes, hi. Okay, wait, I did not remove the banner, right? Let me just remove it. Cool. Yes, folks are here. Do we like this format? No, I actually don't like this one. Okay, this is fine in case you want to see the presentation. But till the time being that I am just talking, we will get back to the screen. Cool. So we have a question: how hard work schedule there? Like how many hours you actually code in general every day? So this is quite subjective, and actually things change day by day. Um, Generally, I just have meetings for around 1.5 hour in a day, and rest of the time I am working. It could either be on code, it could be understanding code, it could be running scripts, it could be a lot of things, and it's very different for every team. So there is no specific answer to it, but depends on the workload you have. And so far it's pretty chill. I am able to manage work as well as enrich alongside, and it's not that hectic. I mean, it can get hectic sometimes, but it's fine. I actually like multitasking and working, so I think it's pretty much fine. Okay, so we had already talked about interview preparation and mock interviews. So most of the content that I had in my mind is already done. So I would actually right now recommend that you ask questions and try to grasp as much information as you need regarding interviews and what you are doing at the moment. Otherwise, we can pick something up from the internet, probably more questions, and try to solve them. I would, however, recommend more Q&A would be better at this point. So feel free to ask any questions regarding interview preparation, regarding DSA, regarding anything technical in general before we do that. Thank you for responses, by the way, beautiful Mehndi. Thank you so much. Uh, I really love Mehndi, and because we had Diwali, of course, I had to get it done. um, okay, there was one question about MLH coach, but I think someone had mentioned the link to apply for coach over there, and it's a simple process. There are 3 4 things. First of all, you apply, then there is I think a paragraph round where you just have to enter paragraph answers, and then there are 3 interviews, by the end of which you know if you're going to be a coach or not. Why do companies ask a lot from freshers in the JD? Is it necessary to know all of them? If yes, how to learn all those technologies? I am not sure if like all of those skills that are mentioned over there are quite mandatory. But I would say that even if you're a fresher when you're joining, you probably had like 4 years of graduation, and you had a lot of time during your education to experience different things, and that's the level of skills that they're expecting. They're not expecting you to know everything or to a professional scale, but more like um just knowledge, basic knowledge in general, not a very high professional skill where you worked on some other MNC's products because they know that you're a fresher, but they like want someone who already has a good hold on tech so that they can train them and push them towards their work, if that makes sense. How challenging were the interviews at Google, and how many rounds did you go through? So I actually got an internship in my third year, and then I got a direct offer. So for internships the format is a little not little different, just less number of interviews are there. First of all, there was a resume submission. Then we had an online coding challenge, and there were just two interviews. And both of them were fully technical data structures based interviews. And I already explained the format of questions that were there. It was more focused on basic and time complexities, whereas my online challenge had questions related to DP and graphs. So I would say that my interview questions were somewhere around lead code medium. If you know your basics well, you would be easily be able to solve it. And my online challenge questions were somewhere around lead code hard level. One more thing, does Google support education while working like higher studies? And is there any specific bond during joining? There's no specific bond, but they do have like there are stocks which are redeemed by the end of 4 years, right? So that is one thing that you will get later on. But there's no such bond when you join with Google. And I am not fully aware of the education while working part. I haven't quite looked further into it because right now I am not in the mood to go for higher studies. So this is not something I've like had searched about. But I think there might be something. Not sure. How to get companies to give you an interview on LinkedIn, how to stand out amongst all other candidates, what's the best way of applying, like referrals, networking, stuff like that. Okay, I think you missed out on the last stream. I did answer a lot of questions over there, but I'll just summarize all of these for you. How to get companies to give you an interview on LinkedIn. Um, there are paragraph questions, I think, when they ask you, what all you know, and using the correct word, using correct keywords, and just mentioning things well could actually be your way into getting an interview with the company. Have a good resume. Make sure it is tailored to that particular job. Do not use one resume for every job application that you put into. Every job has a different requirement, different things. So try to tailor it specific to applying for that particular role in that particular company. And I think the best way of applying, it's not the best way, but it's kind of gives you a little surety of that, hey, your application would be reviewed properly, would be a referral. Uh, Network with folks, find people in different companies, let them know what you do, what your skills are, talk to them, build a connection with them, and then when it's time, ask them for a referral and they'll be happy to give it to you. I think I that all makes sense. How to stand out among all other candidates? I would say just build a proper full portfolio for yourself and have a good resume, and I think that would be your key to go. Um, Thanks again. That's okay. I am here to answer questions. So you need not say thank you again and again. Yeah, a lot of company, like a lot of candidates ask this question that how do I stand out amongst others? I don't think there's any particular way, but just have a and complete skill set and good portfolio for yourself. That's all you can do. How many companies are recommended to apply in a day? Not sure about this one. I think as many as you can, considering the situation in the market keeps going up and down right now. I think there's again another round of layoffs that could come up, and I think some of them have even started. And the quarter earnings, after the quarter earnings, market go down sometimes. So I would recommend apply as many as possible. um, but just make sure that you fill in the application right, just not keep applying everywhere, and just for the sake of applying you just answering questions as it is, not deeply thorough questions, do not have enough referrals or things like that. Have a perfect application instead of applying to multiple companies with an incomplete application. I hope that makes sense. I was lucky enough because I had a campus placement. Google was the first company I applied into, in my third year for internship, and I got into it. So that was quite helpful. And yes, just a heads up, I had a campus placement. Um Even though we went through the entire process, but campus placement also is um, kind of helpful or a step ahead, because you're not competing with an off-campus major crowd, you're just competing with people in your campus. Hey, how's it going? Is there anything in specific about interview prep that I missed out on and you are interested to know? Let me know. I think I specifically mentioned everything possible in both, including both the streams. Does Google hire passed out students for internships? I think the criteria for internship is that they should be in um, a particular course. It could be bachelor's or master's, but they should be a current university student, as far as I remember. But just keep checking the careers website. If it's mentioned that you don't need to be a student right now, then you can easily apply for that. Mostly, whenever there are internship openings, it will be there on the careers website and a full description would be there. I am good. Code with K, how are you? I'm actually quite pumped up with the festivities. We had Diwali day before yesterday, right? Yeah, Diwali day before yesterday. I had an off yesterday. I was very happy because I don't know why my office gave me an off yesterday, even though today is another festival. But I had an off. That's what I'm happy about. And there's another festival tomorrow. I think I missed out on the previous session. I'm not sure which one to attend. So there is another session, technical interview preparation, part one, which has everything mentioned about interview preparation in general, how to apply, what's the application procedure, what are the things you should know, and everything that you're asked, that you're confused about right now has been answered in a prior session. Um, I also shared the slides, and yes, I had to share the doc as well, right? I will share the Google Doc, otherwise I'll forget it. So I'll share the material for both the sessions here in this stream today as well. I'm all good. Just joined the session a bit late, but I love it. Thank you so much. So doc is this one, and I'll also add the link to the slides which was in the previous session. So, slides. Good. These have all the resources or the things that I was mentioning in today's and tomorrow, yesterday's session. Um, yeah, you're welcome. Feel free to ask any more questions. We have around half an hour. We can either end early or we can keep answering and asking questions or talk about anything else in case you need. Right now, we can go non tech as well because we've covered all the technical part of the stream. Thank you very much for sharing. Of course, I think this is like one great thing I love about coaching and uh, other events as well. How did you go to Canada? I'm in India. I am not in Canada. Um, I think you got me confused with someone else. I live in India. Right now, I'm in Delhi at my parents' place, and I am heading back to Bangalore this week and back to office from Monday. Currently, I'm on work from home for 3 weeks, and I hate the fact that I'm going back, but also I need to change of environment soon because I'm not able to finish all my work here. So we have another discussion. Did anybody complete the business card scanner challenge? What was the challenge though? I think I understand it quite well from the name, but let me know what it was about. I haven't caught up on the streams yet. Happy Diwali to you too. I think it's been a great weekend, and I'm kind of sad that Diwali was on a weekend, so I did not get an extra day off, but that's okay. Cool. Do we have any more questions about technical interview preparation or anything that you need to ask about? Do all companies ask for DSA? MNCs in general do, because DSA is basically where you know all your technical concepts, all your coding concepts, and then they can train you into whatever sort of developer they want for the job. So yes, a lot of MNCs do. But if we talk about startups, or if we talk about being hired into a very specific role like data science role, or let's say an Android developer, they would probably ask more in specific to Android development, or more in general to data science and things like that. So, but if you go for software engineering role, the title, I think DSA is very, very important, and it's asked everywhere. Oh, that's cool. This could be done in AR and converting the image to text from there. How to start preparing for DSA? I think first of all, it's about knowing basics of any programming language and then moving forward to DSA. I joined up a course in my second year of college, and what level I think under you should have a basic idea of all the data structure concepts, and then it's about how much practice that you do. There's no such specific level, but let's say if I give you a random question and you're able to guess which data structure can be implemented here, then I think you are well prepared, because that's what's going to happen when you go for an online challenge or an interview. You will be given a random question irrespective of the topic, and you have to answer it, so you need to know which topic does it belong to. So I just searched for technical interview tips on the internet, and it talks about locking the fundamentals, familiarize yourself with format and types of questions, and how to practice. Do not dwell on your mistakes. Use the interview to show your passion for tech. Be prepared for a lengthy interview process. Yes, oh my god, this actually happened with me as well. There are times when your interview can go quite long. It could be a very lengthy process. There could be a set of interviews for me because it was campus placement. It was supposed to happen in a day. That is what a campus demanded. But for some people, that may not be true, and the process could go on till a week, or you have follow ups. You have to talk to HR and all of that stuff. So it can be a lengthy process, and yeah, you just have to give multiple interviews, and it could take several weeks, so just be prepared for that. And sometimes the interviews also go on from 40 minutes to up to 2 hours. It's 40 minutes in general, but I had this one interview for another company where we were talking about some question and discussing all its edge cases. Took around 30 minutes, and the interviewer ended up keeping me in the interview till I actually solved that question, and it took almost 2 hours. I did get a follow up interview later on, but that was the lengthiest interview that I've given. It was around 2 hours. That was a horror. interview for me. And don't forget to prepare for traditional or behavioral questions. Yes, a lot of times you'll be asked the basic HR questions. Tell me about yourself. How do you work in teams? Why are you interested in this job? At least, like, be aware of what the company does. Be aware of the role. Be aware of where you're putting your hands into, so that if you are asked any question that why did you think of applying to this company, or what are you looking forward to when you join us, or something like that, you should be prepared with some answer. So just probably have these answers in mind. Look over to resources, find mock interviews, find other questions that are generally asked in this particular company's interview. All of those resources are easily available online. So do your homework before you actually sit in front of an interviewer, because you don't want to be caught off guard and you want to give your best, of course. Okay, I will wait for a minute or two. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask that. Otherwise, we'll wrap up the stream early. Thank you so much for being a part of the interview preparation series, and I hope it helped you a bit. We have a question. Should I be concerned about a good package as a fresher? Um, Find the minimum package in the area where you live, in the region where you live, and at least expect that. But I would say, as a fresher, if the comparatively the market is down, and if there's no bond that the company you're going forward with, then it's fine. You can easily switch later on and just start with this company, accept this offer. A good package is important to give you a good foundation start, but it doesn't hurt to apply to companies and gain experience and have a little less, but later on switch to higher. Just be sure that there's no particular bond or there's no particular time frame that you have to complete with this company before you can switch to another one if you're going for something like this. Um, like in my case, there's something like there was a rule in a campus placement. Once you get a job with one particular company, uh, once you get a job with one particular company, you cannot apply for any other. So we had to keep in mind that which offer we are accepting. You're from Bangalore, but the minimum package is 3 LPA. A little confused. Minimum package around Bangalore. So, I yeah, around Bangalore, I think we have quite a variation of package. I would say that as a fresher, if it's an MNC or if it's going for, even like living in Bangalore is quite costly, because even I live there, I have experienced that. I think minimum 10 LPA should be your starting goal, I would say, because in the end, you need a career growth. So, if a 10 LPA package is there, it should be fine, but I wouldn't recommend something below that for sure. That's just something which is what I believe. You could have a very different opinion, someone else could have a very different opinion. But I think 10 LPA should be the minimum goal, at least. I hope that helps. And in case you have any questions, particularly related to something you need to discuss, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I think we can have a personal discussion regarding this. Okay, I guess that is pretty much it for the interview preparation series. Thank you so much for being a part of this. But this is not the end. I will be here streaming again in this Global Hack Week career with some more fun streams. I think I'll be in one of the Today in Global Hack Week stream, as well as my favorite No Light mini event, of course. So I'll see you folks again. Thank you so much for attending and staying on for so long. I hope you had fun as well as you understood a lot of things. One last question. Yes, please go ahead. What sites can I use to apply for companies as a fresher? LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a lot of job postings. Well found. Be active on Twitter. There are a lot of things available on Twitter. Um, do we have any other, like, these are the platforms that I'm quite well aware of. Other than that, if there are any particular companies in your mind, their careers website is like a easy go to instead of applying via a third party. Yeah. Do we have any more questions before I say thank you once again and I end the stream? Okay, I'll wait for 1 or 2 more minutes and then we will probably end the stream. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope this was helpful and I'll see you folks again in any of my next streams. Bye. Happy hacking.